The year is 170 AD. The Roman Empire is under attack on two fronts. The Danube is frozen, the Germanic tribes have crossed. Plague is moving through the legions. 3 years of war ahead, with no guarantee of survival for the empire or the man leading it. And the night before the campaign begins, the most powerful man in the world is not sharpening a sword. He is sitting alone, by lamplight, writing. Not battle plans, not orders, not prayers for victory. He is writing questions to himself. Hard ones. What is in my control tomorrow? What is not? If the worst happens, what then? What remains? That ritual, that private, uncomfortable, completely unglamorous ritual, is what separated Marcus Aurelius from every other emperor Rome ever produced. Not his power, not his intelligence. His preparation. There is a word the Stoics used that modern self-help culture has almost completely misunderstood. Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It sounds dark, it sounds like pessimism dressed in Latin. But it was never about expecting failure. It was about removing fear's greatest weapon, surprise. Seneca wrote, "Rehearse in your mind the things that could go wrong. Not so that you dread them, so that when they arrive, they find you already prepared." The unprepared mind, when hit by adversity, does two things. It panics, then it freezes. Because the gap between what was expected and what actually happened is too large to process in real time. But a mind that has already walked through the worst-case scenario, that has already asked, "What would I do if this happened?" that mind does not freeze. It responds. That is the entire architecture of Stoic mental preparation. And it begins the night before. Modern culture has built an industry around positive thinking. Visualize success, expect the best, manifest what you want. And there is value in optimism. The Stoics were not opposed to it. But here is the critical flaw in a life built entirely on positive expectation: it makes you fragile. A man who only ever visualizes success has no mental framework for what to do when things go wrong. And things will go wrong. Not sometimes, not occasionally. Regularly, unpredictably, often at the worst possible moment. Marcus Aurelius knew this better than most. He wrote in the Meditations, "Begin the morning by saying to thyself, I shall meet with the busybody, the ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, unsocial." Read that again. Every morning, before the day began, he mentally rehearsed the obstacles. Not to become cynical. Not to expect the worst from everyone. But so that when difficulty arrived, and it always did, his response was not shock. It was recognition. I have already thought about this. I already know how I want to respond. That is not pessimism. That is the most practical form of mental strength a man can build. So what exactly did Marcus Aurelius do in those evening hours? Based on the Meditations, his private preparation had 3 distinct layers. The first was clarity about what was actually in his control. Before any campaign, before any crisis, he would systematically separate the situation into 2 categories. What I can influence: my decisions, my character, my response, my preparation. What I cannot influence: the weather, the enemy's choices, the outcome, other people's behavior. This is not a passive exercise. It is an act of radical focus. Because a man who goes into difficulty without this clarity will spend enormous energy fighting things he cannot change, and neglect the things he actually can. The second layer was rehearsing the worst outcome without emotional collapse. Not dwelling on it, not catastrophizing. Simply asking, if the worst happens, what is still true? What still holds? And what Marcus Aurelius always found, when he asked that honestly, was this: his character would still be his. His values would still be intact. His ability to respond with reason would still exist. The external situation could be catastrophic. The internal foundation would remain. And that recognition, that the worst external outcome could not touch the internal man, was the source of his composure under pressure. The third layer was deciding, in advance, who he would be. Not what he would do, who he would be. Calm or reactive, deliberate or impulsive, guided by principle or driven by fear. He decided before the pressure arrived. Because he understood something that most men learn only after their worst moments: under extreme pressure, you do not rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparation. You are not preparing to cross the Danube, but you are preparing for something. A difficult conversation that has been avoided too long. A decision that carries real risk. A period of uncertainty that cannot be controlled or shortened. A version of your life that is about to change whether you are ready or not. The practice Marcus Aurelius used works for all of it. Here is how to apply it tonight. Find 10 minutes of silence. No phone, no distraction. Ask yourself, what is the most difficult thing I am facing right now, or likely to face soon? Then separate it. What is actually in my control here? Be specific, not my attitude as a vague idea, but concrete actions, decisions, responses. What is not in my control? Name those things clearly, and then, deliberately, let them go. Not forever, just for tonight. They belong to a category that your energy cannot reach. Then ask the harder question: if the worst version of this situation happens, what remains true about me? What values hold? What character stays intact? Because if the answer is, my integrity remains, my honesty remains, my commitment to the people I love remains, then the worst version of the situation, while genuinely difficult, cannot destroy the most important things. Finally, decide in advance. Who do you want to be in this? Not what outcome do you want. Who do you want to be? Write it down if you have to. Name it clearly. Because that decision, made in the calm of the night before, will be the anchor you reach for when the pressure hits. And the pressure will hit. The only question is whether you will be prepared when it does. Marcus Aurelius led Rome through plague, war, and betrayal. He lost children, he lost allies, he watched plans fail and certainties collapse. And he continued. Not because he was untouchable. Because he was prepared. He had already sat alone in the dark and asked himself the questions that most men avoid. He had already decided who he would be before the difficulty arrived. And when it arrived, as it always did, it found a man who was not surprised. Not a man without fear. A man who had made peace with the possibility of what he feared, and decided, in advance, that it would not change who he was. That is available to you tonight. Not the empire, not the title. The practice. Sit with the difficulty before it arrives. Separate what is yours from what is not. Decide who you will be. Then sleep. And when tomorrow comes, whatever it brings, you will not be meeting it for the first time. Walk the path. Remain steady.